Welcome. My name is Annabelle and I'm the founder of Annabelle & Co. And I am here on the staging sofa with Anna. Lovely to have you here today, Anna.
Good to be here.
We've known each other for about 6 months, and in the summer Anna came to me with a problem property. So we're here today just to discuss the difference that professional staging made to Anna's property that she was looking after. And so, yeah, can you tell me a little bit about the property?
So by default, I became the power of attorney for an elderly lady who lived in a nearby village. And after I'd known her for about a year, she started developing dementia and progressed quite quickly. And for her own safety, I decided it was better to put her into a home. Then I had to sell the property as the power of attorney to pay for the care home fees. So I put the property on the market about 18 months ago. And after the initial flurry of interest, I did receive 3 offers, but they all failed at some point. So I was really frustrated and thinking, oh, I really don't want to go through another winter of looking after this property. And then you came into my life,
Yes.
just at the right moment.
So you had this house had been empty through one winter.
Yes.
And I remember you talking to me about how you had a gardener in, because actually one of the strongest features of the property was its really beautiful garden with sort of sweeping
Yes.
views over the countryside. So I'm guessing over the months and over the winter there were quite a lot of costs to cover.
Well, the gardening alone was over £1,800. But on top of that, there was I had to keep the electricity on in case of viewings. I had to keep the heating on during the winter.
Yes, of course.
So there was bills for oil, water, insurance, council tax, and even things like paying for a green bin. They all
Yes.
mounted up. So it was costing a lot of money to keep the house empty.
And as power attorney, you were basically dealing with all of those administration things.
Yes.
So it must have felt like quite a burden, the wait for it to sell.
Well, the bills were mounting up. I mean, at this point, the estate owes about £60,000 to the care home.
Before we met, how were you feeling about the property and the sale? Because you'd been through that winter. So we were talking about, I think it was almost a year that it'd been on the market. How did you feel when you went into the property? If you could sort of put yourself in the shoes of a viewer.
Well, I knew it didn't feel right. It definitely felt like an elderly lady's property. It felt abandoned, unloved, tired, neglected. And no matter how much I sort of put plants around and tried to make it look nice, I just couldn't really change that initial impression that people were going to get when they walked into the property.
When I first viewed the property with you, you had kept some of the furniture, hadn't you? So there was a sofa and some chairs to sort of illustrate how the living room could be, and a bed in the bedroom, things like that. But it was an older person's furniture. It was definitely tired. And then there was the outhouse, the wonderful sort of garden building that really made an impression on me, because it was very large, and I believe the lady had used it perhaps as a pottery studio. There were elements of the home, like the garden studio, that were not shown very well. And that was one of the things that I really enjoyed when you gave me the opportunity to stage it, was turning some of those less used or less sort of obvious areas of the property into something that people could really imagine using.
Yes.
So that empty studio, if you remember, I staged it with yoga mats, but also just a small table and a typewriter.
I would have loved to have that studio in my garden.
And it went from not featuring in the marketing photos to actually, I think, having at least 2 internal photos of that room. So that's one of the advantages of having professional staging, is you get more photos, which I really noticed after the estate agent came back and took new photos, that additional spaces in the home were now more appealing and their function was clearer, and the photographer took fresh photos, which, you know, adds to that stronger marketing pull.
There was that cupboard that you turned into a little reading room. It was just amazing.
Yes.
And it looked so cozy. I could really see myself sitting in that little
Yes,
room. And
it was a mystery room, wasn't it, off the dining room, which was described as either a pantry or possibly a home office, because it did have a light tunnel, which was a really lovely feature, but no window.
No.
And so yes, I turned it into a sort of snug with a little bit of a sort of a bar overture, so you can imagine just sort of relaxing in there with a friend or two. Perhaps you've got a whiskey collection or something, that kind of room. As we met in the spring, the home had been empty for about a year. Was there a particular moment when you realised that you're kind of in trouble trying to sell this house? Was there a particular moment, or were you just sort of gritting your teeth and kept going?
Well, I think it was after the third failed offer. I'd already reduced the price by quite considerable amount of money. If I'm not going to put it through another winter, I'm going to have to reduce the property price again to sell it. I really needed to make as much money from the property as possible to keep paying the fees for as long as possible.
You're like, when a property is empty and people can see that it's been on the market, and perhaps you can see that it's been reduced. I have an app on my computer that shows price changes, so people get a sense of how
desperate you are,
how distressed the sale is.
Yes.
So yeah, we met in the spring. We got to know each other over a number of weeks on a networking event, and then eventually you invited me to come and have a look around the property. And the timing was interesting, wasn't it? Because I think you were just about to go on holiday to France.
Yes, to France.
I essentially helped you prepare the property a little bit further. We agreed that we would do a full house clearance at this point because the furniture was very old, wasn't it?
Yes.
I also arranged for a clean, and then I brought my staging kit in while you were in France.
Yes.
By the time you got back, it was all transformed, really.
It was.
And I think I was there probably the day before you got back from your trip, and I'd misunderstood there was actually a viewing midweek. So I was privy to a second viewing as I was putting the finishing touches together, and I was overhearing some of the feedback. And when that lady and gentleman left, the gentleman shook my hand, and I took that not to be just a sort of a nice sort of friendly, polite gesture. I think he was shaking my hand because he was so impressed.
I'm sure. I know I was.
At the transformation.
Absolutely blown away.
Yes. One of the things that I could do for that particular property was put some rugs down, because you weren't really in a position to change the carpets. So that's something that staging can help with, is just neutralise any carpets that have seen sort of better days. And obviously I refreshed all the furniture in the lounge. And what I noticed from when that couple came for the second viewing was they actually sat down. They felt more comfortable to just sit. There was a beautiful view from the lounge through the sunroom. You could see the garden and the fields beyond. So just having people coming for a view, enjoying taking that moment to perhaps even sit down and really feel at home. Do you remember revisiting the property after?
Yes, because I came and met you there, didn't I? And you showed me around, and it was just unbelievable, the transformation. It just felt so warm and somewhere that I would be quite happy to move into, which I wouldn't have done previous to that. And that little room was quite amazing. It was I couldn't believe it, to be honest. I was completely knocked a bit sideways by it, as were all the people that, because some of the neighbours who used to visit Louise, they popped around and had a look, and my husband, they were just absolutely amazed by what you'd done. The transformation was incredible.
Where do you feel like the biggest impact was from?
The whole thing. The bedrooms were suddenly looking really pretty. The kitchen looked like a kitchen I would like to work in.
Yes.
The dining room looked, you'd set out the dining room as if a meal was about to be served, which made it feel very homely. I think the impact of everything you'd done there was just changed the whole feel of the place.
So yes, it had, although I had some antique pieces. I think if you remember, the chairs in the dining room are probably about 150 years old, or over 100 years old, but you can mix modern pieces with antique, which is particularly nice in a sort of country property, because that's quite a rural village, isn't it? So I thought it'd be quite nice to bring some of that sort of heritage into the property. But yeah, you can stage it as if, yes, you are just about to enjoy a meal or something like that.
So the attention to detail with like the lights, the light fixtures, making them look more because they were pretty dated, weren't they, the previous ones?
Because it was quite an extensive utility room with lots of storage. And so what I was trying to do is tell a story. So perhaps you could set up a small business for the utility room. I thought perhaps because it had a sink and lots of storage, it could be something like wreath making or flower arranging, or it really was for the next owner to sort of decide. But instead of just walking through the utility room, I tried to tell a little bit of a story there.
Yeah, definitely you achieved that.
So we've talked a little bit about the feedback from estate agents. Did they mention anything in particular once the second set of photos had been taken with the staging?
They were very impressed. Maybe 10 days later, they remarketed the property with the fresh pictures. And within 10 days, I had an offer. I was completely sort of blown away by that. But
yes. Was it 2 offers on one day?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So I had actually people competing against each other at one point and having to sort of work out which was the better offer.
You mentioned that a little bit earlier, the stress and the responsibility. I don't know, does it feel perhaps even a little bit more stressful than selling your own home? Because in a way, you're responsible with this power of attorney for the future welfare of this neighbour of yours.
Oh yeah, and because the bills are piling up.
Yes.
At the care home.
Yes.
I only met her as in my role as a therapist. I know, as I say, I ended up being power of attorney by default because nobody else wanted to.
We should probably catch up and chink a glass of something when it goes through.
Definitely. There's going to be at least one bottle of champagne coming out of the sale.
Could you imagine perhaps where you would be now if we hadn't met, if you hadn't heard about staging? It wasn't something that was suggested by your estate agent, despite they've been incredibly helpful and professional. I can see that. So where do you think you might be now if you hadn't staged the property back in the early
Almost
summer?
Certainly would have had to have reduced the price again to just get it sold during these last few weeks of the sunshine and property looking at its best. Can't go through another winter of looking after the property and having to run up there every time there's been a cold snap to make sure everything's okay.
Yes.
It's been a huge drain on my time. So yeah, I would have definitely reduced the price quite considerably.
If you could talk to your former self, as it were, like sort of this time last year, what do you think you would have said? Because obviously it is a commitment, it's a financial commitment to employ someone like a professional stager. But with hindsight, what might you have told yourself?
Definitely do it, because if you work out what I paid you to stage it, I've paid more than that in keeping the house empty.
Yes.
If I'd sold it 18 months ago, not only would it have been a huge weight off my mind and I wouldn't owe all that money to the care home, but it would have saved money, because all the time that property is there, I'm having to look after it and pay for the utilities and the insurance and the gardener and everything else.
Yes, even the council tax.
And repair work, if it goes through another winter without somebody living in it,
it takes
I
its
think
toll.
things are going to start. Well, you found there was a leak when you were there staging it, didn't you?
Yeah.
And that's going. I think more of those sort of little creaks and cracks will start appearing if it's left empty for another winter. It's a no-brainer. Just definitely do it. Get the staging done.
Yes.
Right from the beginning.
Yes. I think that's the message, isn't it?
Yes.
When it was fresh to the market, so that original price that you had in mind, I'm imagining you could have achieved that.
Could have achieved that.
Yes.
If we'd staged it right at the front.
If you could sum up, perhaps in a few words, the experience of us sort of working together, me staging the property for you, how would you sort of explain that feeling or that process to someone in just a few words? The
relief is such a relief. Incredible to see the transformation. I mean, the way you work is just amazing. Financially, it's judicial too, to just invest that money into it. It's investing in your own marketing plan, really, isn't it?
It is. Yes, and it is a key piece that's missing from many marketing plans. You only have to look through an online sort of listing place to see properties that are empty or sort of poorly furnished because of perhaps someone older moving out. And a lot of people do that sort of partial house clearance like you did. So they want to leave some furniture in to say, look, this is, you know, where you'd put your sofa, but unfortunately the sofa's looking quite tired. And yes, it gives a sense of where the furniture might go, which is, you know, a consideration, but it's not very attractive.
I wish that somebody had told me about it before. I wish that the estate agent had suggested to me right from the beginning that I'd had it staged. And it would have saved a lot of heartache.
I'm on a mission really to work with estate agents that are open to that, that see the power of that investment up front to really boost the appeal of the property and help someone kind of fall in love, you know, because it was such a charming bungalow in such a lovely location. I get emotionally attached to properties that I work in. I just thought it was lovely.
But I mean, especially with somebody who's maybe found a property that they really like and they don't want to lose, if that bit of investment would mean that they can sell their property quickly so they can buy that other property.
So it's not just the property that's empty or the property that's sort of partially furnished. Yeah, if you need a refresh, you could think about getting a stage or a stylist in just to boost your chances of keeping that chain going. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Anna for joining me this sunny morning on my staging sofa. I hope that was informative, and if you have any questions at all about professional staging, please do get in touch. This is Annabelle, founder of Annabelle & Co. Property Staging, based here in beautiful Lincoln in Lincolnshire. I can help you either in person or virtually with any queries about staging for sale. Thank you so much.